Highlight for this day, I've manipulated the charts to be able to show you what is the highlight. We talk about compare, contrast, market relationships, correlated markets. They all mean the same thing. I often talk about if you go buy a car, do you trust that the salesman at one dealership is telling you a price that's fair, or do you shop around? You shop around. When you go and you look at the price of a plane ticket, there are websites, Travelocity and Orbitz, and many others that do one thing: compare, contrast, so that you could decide United is cheaper than Delta, therefore I'll fly United, all things being equal. It's not rocket science. We've used that concept since the beginning of price. All right, since price was invented, we used compare, contrast to value it. All right, so that's what's important. If you trade the ES, it's a stock index, S&P 500, of 500 stocks that make up the average. The NASDAQ and Q, the symbol, is 100 mostly tech stocks that make up its index. So it makes sense that they chart similarly, but it also makes sense that they don't chart exactly. And you get a rotation that's similar in one as the other. So this consolidation is pretty much this consolidation down here. All right. Now, if it charted exactly the same, then you wouldn't have to watch both of them. Be a waste of time. But the fact that they chart similarly, but not exactly, is where you could glean some clues. And I said this in the room too. Our job isn't to predict what the clues are going to be. Our job is to recognize them when they surface. There are going to be different clues that surface, and we're trying to predict clues. We're doing too much. Don't try to predict the clues. Try not to miss them when you see them. Now, there was a moment where the market was stuck after the first 30 minutes. They were stuck in this range from around 32.33 to yesterday's high. This is essentially yesterday's high in the S&P, and then this became the consolidation highs in the first half hour. All right. They opened up strong, but they came, from overnight, but then they opened at 34.35 and jumped back in and created this box. So there are shorts that get nervous if it trades up there, but then there's longs nervous if it trades below roughly 28. Funny thing happened at 9 a.m. Central. It's not funny. It's something that you recognize, and that's up here in the headlines that we watch. Consumer confidence came out, and it was pretty bearish. It was a downside miss. If I scroll these headlines down, consumer confidence came in 84.8 versus 93. That's about a 10-point miss. That's a decent miss in that number. And consumers make up 70% of the economy, so it's important how they feel. And this has always been what I'd call a top 10 number that the markets are always looking at during the course of a month, consumer confidence. And so again, let's call it 84, 85 versus 93, and 93 is what's expected. Anything much above that, consumers are more confident. Below it, like 84, they're less confident. Now, new home sales also came out, and that was bullish. That had 901,000 new home sales versus like 785. So that was bullish. But the market cares more about consumers at this point. And so it changed the opinion that they're going to take these 32, 33s out. And it was right in the middle that we became more neutral than, or at least I did. Not bullish, not completely bearish yet, but neutral after this 9 o'clock central number. All right. And we're sitting in the middle of this consolidate. These are only things that we know. The only facts that we know, that it's probably weak below here. It's probably gets strong above there. And consumer confidence came in generally bearish for stocks 5 minutes prior. So let me take this chart and just look at the far right side of the NASDAQ and the far right side of the ES right here. And I'm just going to go one bar. One bar. You see the jump. First, let's watch the NASDAQ. You see the jump from like 06 to 16, a 10-point jump. Now, take your eyes over to the far right, and I go back and forth that same bar. Wait, right? I went too much. Right there. Right there. Look at the difference. Do you see the difference? It's not like the NASDAQ went up 2 or 3 points. It went up 10 points. And the ES could barely go up. And at that moment, I had said the downside's the right side. Before it went to 28 and then 26 and 25 and then 24. It's not magic. It's just waiting to see and being prepared to see what's important. And that's how you develop a skill, by watching the right stuff, being around people who have more eyes and ears on stuff that matters, so that if you're about to buy a car and your cousin calls you and says, hey, don't buy today from that dealership down the street, they're lowering prices $5,000 next week. Correlations, price is going to go down. Put yourself in a position to watch other markets to find value and look for things like this. Again, this wasn't a moment where we rallied a point or two. It was a 10-point rally and even went a couple more points above the 10-point, like from 6 to 16. And then finally, when this came off, all bets were off over here in the ES. So if we just do that again, that 1 bar spike right there, look at both sides. You see one that doesn't move and the other one that does move 10 points higher, the NASDAQ. If that doesn't get you short and you're bearish, you're missing something. If that doesn't get you bullish to bearish, you're missing something. These are ways to create confidence that what you're predicting isn't a good guess when you're right. And you have to get that. You have to get into that. You have to get into, when I'm right, I don't feel like it's a good guess. I feel like it was a probability. When I'm wrong, I'm okay with it. It's part of the business. I don't have to get smoked. But it's really important to focus on different markets for the right stuff, not tick for tick, but for the right stuff, such as when something like this happens. Now, when I start any day, I don't know that this is going to happen and when it's going to happen. I just know what to do if I see it. And it's an important clue to keep you off the wrong side and get you on the right side. Stay safe, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you at the next highlight.